please come on up. Come on up. Yeah, this shouldn't take too long, guys. A long time no see. Happy New Year. Hope everybody's doing pretty good. Just an update. We are now good to start collecting data for MCI. The keyboard has touched down into the ED office. I don't know if anybody's been. You might have seen it. It's hanging out inside of our little reserve cabinet. It's inside of like a color of the case. It's like a very light first color though, but it's a Bluetooth keyboard, so it won't have to be connected to the iPad. All you need to do, or what I would recommend, is just taking it with you if you're planning to enroll. Find one of those little Mayo stands, those little metal stands that are at the bedside. They kind of float around the ER, but situating the iPad onto that and then having the keyboard available in position for the patient to go ahead and use will make it pretty easy to get your data collection. You only need it for a couple of the latter cognitive assessments. It won't be needed for the MOCA because MOCA is going to be printed into by pen and paper. It'll be needed for the go, no go task, just namely for the space bar and then the blank task as well. So it should be pretty simple. Everything else will be able to just be tapped with the iPad for the patient. Additionally, I just wanted to provide a couple of reminders about the process for going through it, since it's a little different from what we usually do. Instead of going through HIPAA and consent, just straight off the bat, you do have to perform some sort of like diagnostic assessment for whether or not this patient is able to consent to participate in this project of their own accord, or if they need an LAR. More instructions are in our toolkit. I updated it, so if there's any questions as well, please feel free to reach out or just send it into the chat. Happy to field them as they come. But in essence, I wrote a little script as well that could be pretty helpful to memorize, or at least get the general gist of. It covers all of the bullet points that are pertinent on the DMCAT, the decision-making capacity assessment test. It covers all of the points, and if the patient is cognizant and understands all of that script and is able to respond with a sound logic and sound mind that they are willing to participate, you're good to go ahead and continue forward. Oh, sorry. That's it. I'll answer any other questions in the Slack. I don't want to hold Dr. Koda, but thank you guys. Thank you. Awesome. And then just a couple quick announcements. We just want everyone to finish the standardized surveys. We really appreciate everyone's feedback. So sincerely, thank you all so much. Additionally, we're also looking for some more volunteers for Dr. Vaca SimLab. Very cool experience. Highly recommend. And it's also flexible. You just email them and you're able to work with them. Go check out the random channel to see some sick film of how it looks like. And so yeah. Without further ado, though, we're going to go ahead and get started with Dr. Koda, who's joined with us virtually.
Oh, wow, that was a minute ago. Hi, everyone.
Do you want to share your screen on your end, Dr. Koda?
Yeah, I can share on my screen or whatever is easiest for you. Let's see. I'm really good at Zoom, so that was sarcasm. Sorry. Let's see. Which one can you see? Is it in presenter view? Like, do you see all of my notes and stuff? Because I can not do it in presenter view, whatever's easiest for you guys.
We do see it in presenter view, but it's all good.
Okay. Let's see. Let's just do regular present. All right. So I'm Alexis Koda. I'm one of the new attendings over at UC Irvine, and I am primarily interested in medical education. That's mostly my work and my interests. I am doing a review on marine envenomations, which is kind of a weird side project that I kind of decided to do that's hopefully finishing up. But I wanted to talk to you guys about a couple of projects that I'm working on with procedural competency. So just for some background, some like base terms that you should know are that competency is kind of a baseline skill level. And so that's kind of like the foundation of your procedural skills house, whereas proficiency is mastery. So basically we want our residents to be competent and working towards proficiency, but proficiency is more of like a thing that you get with experience down the road. Currently, our model for certifying that our residents are procedurally competent is basically this like pass or do not pass sort of program. So this is a screenshot of the program that a lot of residencies use. It's called New Innovations. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but basically it's you get sent these little blurbs from a resident that say, I did a procedure, and you check off whether they pass or didn't pass. And sometimes you're not even necessarily directly observing all of them. Sometimes, residents, they do want to be autonomous and they don't necessarily want, it's different doing a procedure when somebody's like breathing down your neck. I know like one of my least favorite experiences was intubating in the OR because the anesthesia people are usually like all up breathing in down your neck. And some of like my most stressful intubations have been in the OR where the patients are completely stable and there's like nothing going on just because the CRNA is like, what do you see? Watch the teeth. Watch the lips. And they're like very like freaking out. And I'm like, I've had crashing patients that I've intubated that are way less stressful. And so I think, sometimes it's nice to not have that like breathing down your neck feeling with your procedure. And so, sometimes procedures are done under the supervision of an attending, but not necessarily direct supervision. So our current model is basically a checkoff. You can do a chest tube, you can perform it, or you cannot perform it. What that really misses, like whether the individual resident or learner is doing individual steps, whether they have skills troubleshooting, whether they have the requisite background knowledge to do the procedure. And like I said, sometimes these are just sign-offs without direct observation, which is a problem, right? Like, who wants to have their family member have a person doing a procedure on them who was just like, check, I think they can do it. Doesn't that sound awful? So there are a few different knowledge gaps. So we don't really know how to measure what we determine competent is and how long does your competency assessment last for, and there's not necessarily a lot of information on what tools we're currently using. So I got involved with the EM Pro Procedural Research Consortium. I was introduced to Shyla Quasi. She's an attending out of Tower Health. And she's put together this collaborative network that has people from all over the country. I was out in Philly when I met her, and there was a lot of East Coast based people, but there are a lot of Midwest programs and people up in UCSF and that sort of thing. So it's really like this group that spans the entire country. And basically, we have not a bunch, we have four main projects that we're working on: prospective study, review article, op-ed, and survey, all kind of following the procedural competency question. It was originally dubbed a like skills warranty project, but we've kind of branched out. So the original study objective was how long do your simulation skills last after you're taught? And that's a question that's hard to answer. And how long are you confident before you need to be taught again? So for like skills maintenance, faculty development is another area of procedural competency. So it's not just learners coming out of residency that we're interested in. We're also kind of interested in your continuing education as you continue on in your emergency medicine career. But before you can kind of determine that, we realized that we have to have good, valid assessment tools. You can't really measure skills warranty if you don't have a good way of determining how procedurally competent they are to begin with. And so we found that there was actually a gap in how we're measuring procedural competency. And so that's kind of the question that we're seeking to answer. In order to answer that, we kind of need to know, what does valid mean? So validity has to do with how good a test is and whether or not it's measuring what you want it to measure. It gets a bit more complicated than that. There are some people who are very scholarly people in psychology and other fields who have weighed in on what does it mean for a test to be valid, and it takes into account all of these different factors. So not only is it just like the content, which is what most people really focus on, but it has to be testing what you want in the manner that you want to be testing. External factors can play a part. So the most common example of that is sort of the SATs. And so, it's designed to be, or was originally designed to be measuring whether or not somebody's going to be ready for college, but they did find that, people in underrepresented areas don't have the same backgrounds. And so the test was skewed towards more privileged students with backgrounds from more privileged areas. And so taking into account external factors that could be skewing results, um, how you collect the data, your response process, and then what are the consequences of the exam. These all actually play into whether a test is good or valid and measuring what you want it to. So to get into the nitty-gritty, our prospective trial is looking at both the tool, so we have to assess the tools first, and that's kind of where we're at right now. And eventually we want to use the tool to see how it's measuring learners. So then we will kind of take our validated tools and apply it to the learners and see how they kind of do with the assessments. And then eventually the plan is to answer the question we originally wanted to answer, which is skills warranty, which is how long are your skills lasting once you have this like assessment period. We are also doing a scoping review. So we're seeking to answer what kind of evidence is there for procedural competency and what type of methods are people using for procedural competency. And in doing that, we also kind of wanted to see how good the evidence is and can we critically appraise the tools. So I'm in charge of the systematic and scoping review. And so basically we're kind of it's the same search strategy. So we're trying to extract the data kind of at the same time and then publish the scoping review. And while we're doing the data analysis, for the systematic review, we'll work on that and then publish that. So how can EMRA help? For the prospective study, I'm not the main lead on this particular project, but I'm very involved. And so I think the main area that I see right now that EMRAP can help is potentially with support for video creation and processing data. Since this is a multi-center study, we're going to need to be coordinating between different sites, getting the data from the different sites and then kind of managing that. So I think there's room to kind of help with that. And then for the systematic review, I have a little bit clearer of an idea since this is my kind of baby project. So we are currently extracting data, and I think there's gonna be some obvious like variability in the data, just like because we have about 30 or so reviewers, and so everybody kind of reviews the data a little bit differently. So we're gonna need to be able to like clean some of the data. Silly things like people enter an author name. I asked for an author name in the extraction form, and like sometimes maybe people will like put the last name, first name versus last name. And so I'll be needing to clean the data and making sure that, it's not a separate data point when it's actually the same data point. Some administrative tasks, like I said, coordinating the group. And then I've been having to do a lot of like subtasks and kind of creating little sub teams to do different tasks for the project. And so helping me with that, and then potentially helping with data analysis and writing under my supervision. So that's the one half of the projects that I've been working on. I am also working on a different set of projects, also related. But basically the background is that high stakes procedures, which we call HALO procedures, which are high acuity, low occurrence procedures, things that we are critical procedures that we don't see very often. They occur. So like things like cricothyroidotomy, where you like have to get into the trachea to establish an airway, or pericardiocentesis, which is putting a needle into the pericardial space. All of these things, they don't happen that often, but they could potentially save a life. And so, like I talked about earlier in my other projects, skill decay is real. You don't have the same ability to do the procedure day one when you learned it as you do 20 years down the road. And so there's a gap for, training, and there's not currently a good way of going through these procedures, and there's no standardized like repository of checklists that you can go through to kind of refresh yourself on those procedures. So Anne Marie Cardell, out of Emory, came up with this project where she wants to help create this repository. And some of this was kind of also pushed on by the new certifying exam in emergency medicine. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the certifying exam process or the oral boards exam process, but basically, in order to become a board certified emergency physician, you need to pass a written exam. And then in the past, you would do what was called the oral exam, which was a very interesting experience when I did it, where we all show up in this dingy hotel in Chicago and then get like shuttled around to different rooms, and you have to like work through cases verbally with an examiner. They're changing that this year. There's not a lot of information out on it, and so it's kind of a black box, and we're all trying to figure out how to deal with this certifying exam, which is a cluster. But basically, they're going to be testing procedures and the ability to do procedures for the first time in the certifying, I guess, like the board certifying process. And so this is going to be an important part for all of our emergency medicine residents is doing procedural assessments. So one part of the project is actually more for the like maintenance of skills part, which is a just-in-time checklist, which is on shift at the bedside. You'd be able to pull out this checklist of a procedure that you maybe haven't done in months or years, and just be able to be like, I know what I'm doing vaguely, but like the details of the steps are not like right here, so I need to just refresh myself. But in doing that, we also realize that there's not like a comprehensive procedural checklist. So all these people that are trying to prepare for the boards are just trying to like search the internet and do lit searches on their own for how to teach procedures to people. And so we wanted to create this standardized place for people to go. So our study objectives is basically to create a compendium of validated, comprehensive, and just-in-time checklists. So the key part of that is validated. So there are a lot of checklists out there, but that doesn't mean that there was necessarily rigorous further testing. So sometimes people just publish checklists without, testing whether it's valid or not, getting expert consensus. Doing inter-rater reliability, making sure that the things in the checklist are what need to be there or are worded well. And so we want to kind of go through that process. So in doing that, they will employ something in medical research that's commonly known as the modified Delphi method. So the modified Delphi method, basically you start with a problem area and you get a panel to kind of come up with a series of objectives and criteria that you want to take to an expert panel. And the Delphi part of this is where you take in a regular Delphi process, you just take an open-ended question, you give it to a panel of experts who are all anonymized, and then you go through these iterative rounds. So you give the prompt, they talk about it, or they think about it, they give their feedback, they get the results, and then they do that 2 or 3 times, and then eventually spit something out. What a modified Delphi process is a little bit less open-ended. So you actually can take your panel and give like either specific questions or specific prompts or criteria that you want the expert panel to go through. So the modified Delphi process is a little bit more focused. Do you guys have any questions? I know I've been kind of blowing through everything so far, but this is kind of a lot on the modified Delphi process, so I wanted to know if you wanted me to explain more or anything about that. Cool. I can't really see super well, so just like holler out if there's a question.
No questions at the moment.
Okay, cool. So how can MRAP help? So the really big lift on these is going to be the literature search. So I have been a part of the initial group that is doing the literature search, and we're basically looking at all of the standard databases plus like green or gray literature and then trying to collate it. And sometimes that's easy. Sometimes there's not that many published products, but sometimes it's like a lot of different checklists to go through. So what we did with our first iteration is we did intraosseous lines insertion, and I basically made a spreadsheet of all the common steps, and I tried to pick like the main things, and I made a comprehensive checklist, and then I tried to do that down to like a 10 or around 10 step just-in-time resource. That's a really like labor intensive process. So we're starting to work with AI to see if that can help with the heavy lifting of like doing this search and like identifying common steps. But of course, we would review it afterwards as like emergency physicians and make sure that AI didn't take out really necessary steps. So we're in the like iterative process of like coming up with how that AI process is going to work, which is very interesting. So we're still there's a bunch of procedures and then doing the lit searches each time. That's an area I feel like MRAC can probably help with the lit searches, kind of collecting the data and going through that. And then we will eventually be putting together panels of Delphi reviewers, and so helping kind of soliciting Delphi experts and, you know, coordinating with them how to go through the Delphi process and just kind of helping administratively with that. That's my presentation. Do you guys have any questions or anything like that? I think the areas that I have the clearest vision for how you guys can help are with my like systematic and scoping review, just because I am the lead on that. But I am highly involved in these other projects. And so I'm happy to, if they're interesting to you, then you can totally work closely with me. But I'm just not the lead on that, if that makes sense.
I don't think there are any questions at this time. Thank you so much, Dr.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so yeah, we'll probably get the liaison application out for, it seems like there's 2 to 3 different projects of yours right now. So like there's the prospective, then there's the systematic review / scoping review, and then that's kind of like the general scope, right? So we'll try to see if there's going to be maybe 1 to 2 liaisons per section that would be interested.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, so the Just in Time is a different project. So there's like about 3 different projects where I foresee you guys getting involved in. Obviously, I think the system at Scamper, hush, sorry, my dog. Hush. So, sorry. The systematic and scoping review is probably the area I think that I can easily get you very, very involved in. But I think there's work for all of these projects for liaisons.
Awesome. Thank you so much, then, Dr. Dakota. Really appreciate it. Moments we've all been waiting for. Info night. We prepared some really cute little slides. Just give you guys a layup. But we're going to try to keep it pretty quick, like 5 to 10 minutes, maybe more like 10 minutes or so. Just to give them a really quick, broad overview. Again, we want to give them just some talking points, maybe to talk to you guys about, hopefully, with regards for them to, you know, just get a better understanding of MRAP. So be warm, be kind, be welcoming, and yeah, we can probably let them in. There's probably going to be a couple outside, and then I think there's a couple in the waiting room already, right?
Feel free to disperse yourself, and then if there's someone that asks you a question that you're like, what am I? If there's someone that asks you a question you're uncomfortable answering, just let them know, like, oh, like we can just ask them for it after lunch. Get back to me. It's like
For a flying Sam. Mostly we didn't know. I've definitely gotten like better. I'm definitely better at it. It's okay, like truthfully, it really is just like a matter of repetition. Like you just gotta like keep looking at it. That's what actually like I talked to. Well, yeah, I mean, like, they're kind of interesting to look at, like, especially when I would say like, you see like something wrong, and then you get better at seeing like the, yeah. Just like,
Hello, welcome everyone. Hi, hi. Is that everyone?
So far. Hi, welcome everyone. Feel free to make yourselves at home. Thank you so much for being here on this lovely Tuesday evening.
it's not like the hardest things, right?
I'm rappers, you guys can sit wherever like we're ready. We got a whole house in here today.
Yeah. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, guys.
You got around. That's sick. Okay, cool. 10 minutes and then we're gonna be all ready for you guys. Awesome.
That's it, everyone.
Rappers, you are allowed to sit with the potential new rappers. The potential new rappers. If you're mingle, just chat, meet some of our rappers for a second.
Yeah, introduce yourself to the person next to you.
Please. Yeah, put
Alrighty, if you can hear me clap once. If you can hear me clap twice. If you can hear me clap. Okay, I've never done a clap 3 times.
Oh, thank you guys so much for coming here tonight. We really appreciate it. We're going to try to keep things brief because we know you guys are busy, but again, most importantly, we want to thank everyone for coming here tonight. We're just going to share a couple quick facts and figures. Our program was founded in 1997, and we have over 20 years of experience and 20 years of generations of MRAP. We're really excited for hopefully one of you guys, and many of you guys, hopefully, to be here joining with us today. We have over 110 different studies to date from history, 20 currently active studies, and the really great thing is that every single research associate, every single MRAPper is involved in a research study. We're really excited for everyone to get engaged in our public health studies and our ultrasound studies, which we're going to go into a little bit more depth later. Not only do we have great studies, we have really great MRAPers and really, really incredible research associates. Everyone is incredibly driven, and so many of our research associates go on to participate in Europe as well as Excellence, guaranteeing at least one publication, but really, people are going above and beyond here in MRAP. So we have over 31 plus peer-reviewed publications and many MRAPers who go to regional and national conferences. But that's not it, just that we also have really great MRAPers who are also in our emergency departments working clinically, doing incredible work, working alongside faculty and staff, and always doing amazing things. We have nearly 90,000 patients enrolled, which blew Diego away. So yeah, that's a quick brief kind of like overview of what MRAP is. We're really conducting great research. We're also working clinically, and really it's, I think, really the best program out there. So that's enough for me. Jolie is going to talk a little bit more about some other stuff we do.
Marco. Hi. So I'm just going to tell you guys some of the opportunities that MRAP offers. So what exactly makes our program special compared to like any other like research program out there, right? So this is probably one of the only undergraduate research programs where we recently were directly involved in helping to plan last year's 25 Western Regional XAEM. So this was a conference that was hosted last year at the Gill Center right on the way, and we hosted over probably more than like 300 people, would you say? Yeah, so yeah. But let me show you guys a couple pictures. So our research associates were involved in like literally the nitty-gritties of the conference. So we helped with like registration, so bringing all the participants in, welcoming all the doctors and physicians that were there, all the healthcare staff. So we helped organize like some workshops. For example, like this is one of the workshops that Marco and I helped organize. It was called Take It to the Streets with Dr. Victor Cisneros, who specializes in street medicine. Some of our MRAPers had the opportunity to present their research. This is Akil from last year. This is Akil from last year. He was able to present his research as well as Ayush and Bibi. Ayush is here with us today, somewhere around here. But if you guys want, he can tell you about his research after this. All right, and here are some of the doctors being silly. This is our amazing faculty who work so hard to give us resources and opportunities for us to kind of like follow in their mentorship and also have opportunities to participate in everything they have to offer. And then last but not least, the boys, I guess, hit it with like a basketball game after. So it was just like hard work, like work hard, play hard kind of thing. So we also try to really emphasize that as well, which we'll go into more during like the social coordinator part of our presentation. So yeah, and this was a group picture, very beautiful. So this is like some, but not all of the people that helped out at Western Regional, but all in all, it was an amazing experience for anyone who's just trying to, get their foot in the door for like research or like planning and like abstract organizing, just anything like that. So it was an amazing opportunity. Okay, we are very involved in our community. So basically we are involved with EMIG at UCI, and they come around often when they prepare like the IV ultrasound workshops for us to do. We're very lucky to have partnered with these organizations. I feel like our MRAPers, they can tell you, but I hope that they've learned a lot. You might have seen us at the Annual Involvement Fair, where some of you may have came from like today by signing up for our newsletter. So we're involved in that as well. Our MRAPers were able to go to the APAMSA conference at UCI here to present their research. And lastly, over here is just like another intubation workshop that we had with APAM, EMIG. So as you guys can see, there's so much to do, so much to see and participate in as a program. Okay.
Yeah, another really thing that's central to MRAP is our research associates, and so you'll find incredible people within our program. Not just one person, but many very incredible, unique people. You'll find people across the entire UC Irvine campus. You'll find people all over campus life, and so find amazing people. And we're really excited for you guys to chat and meet a lot of these people. We also have an incredible alumni network. Two of our alumni are actually joining here today, and they're going to be giving us some really brief stuff, a brief talk later. But we have incredible people and a great cohort, and last year's alumni, unfortunately, as well. So there's those people. But yeah, they go off and do incredible things. But again, the most important thing is that these are really great, kind, and incredible people overall. This is Dr. VC. He's our program director. He helps organize a lot of our speakers and helps us oversee all of our different research studies. And so he's an incredible guy. He will join us today, but soon you guys will be able to meet. Again, we're the program coordinators, Julie and I. We help to oversee and help out all of our amazing research associates. So we're going to pass it off to Anne to just give ourselves a brief little introduction.
Yeah, hey guys, my name is Anne. I'm this year's secretary. So basically, I'm just in charge of making sure the meeting notes get sent out to everybody. I'm in charge of manning the Zoom today. So that's what I'm doing here. I also help make sure that everybody's schedules are in and put on the calendar. And I just manage like attendance and any questions that anybody has. So if you have any questions for me, feel free to ask. She's being helpful. She literally does like everything.
Oh, we have amazing social coordinators.
Oh, yeah.
Holy no. Please, guys, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hello, my name is Monica and I'm one of the social board. I'm Annie, I'm also one of the social board. And I'm Audrey, I'm the last social board. So as social boards, one of our main jobs is to run the social media. So any of the stories or infographic or posts, that's us. If you do DM the Instagram account, which feel free to, that is also us responding to your questions. So we're very active on that. So if you do have any more additional questions after this workshop, feel free to reach out. Aside from that, so we're the ones that plan the socials and also celebrate birthdays. And so at the beginning of the year, we always ask for like some details about them so we can give gifts to our fellow MRAPers. And
yeah, that's pretty much mostly what we do. We just try to keep things fun outside of the research and like so everyone can get to know each other.
Diego.
Hi everyone, my name is Diego Coronado. I'm the historian for MRAP, and what that means is I'll take photos, videos, and make the videos that you guys will see on Instagram. And yeah, if you see me walking around today with a camera, don't be shy, say hi. Yeah, thank you guys for coming out. Thank you.
Sick crowd.
So, hi guys, my name is Ryan Ricaria. I'm one of the co-ultrasound coordinators along with Omid. Omid will give a longer spiel in a second, but essentially, we serve as direct coordinators with the ultrasound team. So MRAP does a lot of research on molecular ultrasound. UCI in general has a big part of their research in that field. So Omid and I work a lot with ultrasound doctors, and between the MRAPers, essentially serve as liaisons between the two groups.
Hi everyone, I'm Omid. I'm the other ultrasound coordinator. As Ryan mentioned, ultrasound is really important to what we do in the emergency department. A large portion of our patients do get ultrasound scans, and really a lot of our studies are really trying to see, can we promote the use of ultrasound, either through testing its efficacy or one of its use cases. I'll pass it back to Ryan to talk about some of the exciting things we get to do in ultrasound. Go back to the last slide.
Yeah, thanks, bro. So basically, here's just a couple of quick images of stuff we do. But basically, with us being so big on ultrasound research, it's really cool because like it's kind of like we're kind of being trained on doing ultrasounds in a way. Actually, one of our studies actually requires us to use ultrasounds, but in general, like for example, we talked about Western SAM. We had an ultrasound workshop there where like the doctors just show a lot of the people that were just attending if they wanted to join just different ultrasounds and how to do them on patients, and we got to participate as well and just learn those things. And just a lot of our workshops in general involve ultrasound and like just teach us how to use them. Just honestly really cool. Like there's barely any other experiences as undergrads that you can learn how to do that. So very cool part of MRAP for sure. And yeah, our ED ultrasound doctors like Dr. Nashi, who has finished her fellowship, so she's no longer at UCI, but all of our other fellows, such as Dr. Nashi, work really closely with us, and they're extremely experienced in ultrasonography. So they really know what they're talking about, and we learn a lot from them. It's really awesome.
As Ryan mentioned, there's always new opportunities. Actually, last year, Anne and I were able to put together a study where we trained the MRAPers how to do a cardiac ultrasound. So that was part of the research, and that was the research question, was how well can we train them? And we go on the next slide. Because speaking of opportunities, we also have yearly a really amazing opportunity to go to the Mammoth Mountain Emergency Medicine Conference. Marco and I were able to go last year. You can see that is us there at the bottom, trying our hardest not to laugh. It's a really fun experience. They have a lot of really great presentations. We got to learn about rural medicine, sports medicine, high altitude medicine, and of course, ultrasound is there as well. And we do have another opportunity to do it again this year.
You didn't even mention the most important part. We got to go skiing with doctors, which is sick. There you go, fans. That's shit. All right, so there's so many incredible leadership opportunities, and speaking of leaders, our academic coordinators.
Hi, everyone. I'm Krisha. I'm one of the academic coordinators. Yeah, so as academic.
I'll talk more later.
Oh,
okay. Okay, this is my part. So everyone here, if you get an MRAP, it's a requirement that you do UROP. So you're guaranteed to do at least like one presentation by the end of the year. And if you're confused by UROP, don't worry, like we'll go over it with you guys. It'll be really quick. And that's Omid and Ann. They won. You wanna?
Oh, well, Omid and I were grateful enough to have given an opportunity to present at Europe. It is a requirement, but we got the opportunity to. And we had the fortunate opportunity to also win first in innovations in medicine was our category. So I would say the coordinators helped a lot in making sure that we were knowing like what to do. It was both for our first times doing Europe. So yeah, and everyone's support like allowed us to get all this data in.
So as Anne mentioned, because MRAP is a Bio 199 class, Europe is a requirement. What is not a requirement, but what our MRAPers do participate in is excellence in research. So excellence in research is another program on campus where you present whatever you do as a research associate. You're an MRAP, and then once you pass through judging, your research gets published in the UCI academic journal. So that's really cool. It's a really nice opportunity. You learn a lot about being judged, and you're presented to people who are experts in this field as well. So they ask you some very deep questions, and you get like a really great understanding of how to present and what your research actually is.
And these are our goals for you. I have a very simple slide, so that's pretty much it. Yeah, all set. Yeah.
So when you apply to MRAP, essentially we're just trying to understand how are you going to fit into our team, both in the context of the emergency department and in the context of us all working together. So for example, when you go into the emergency department, you're going to be screening for patients. So when I was a freshman and I applied, 95% of the studies went straight over my head. Did not understand a thing, but that's okay. We just want to see whether you're passionate enough, whether you're curious enough to learn about our research and be able to emulate that in the ED effectively. We also just want to see what kind of people you are. Like, I'm sure you guys are all amazing people. We want to get to know you because you're going to be working with patients, you're going to be working with patient families, you're going to be working with doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and the rest of us during your shift. So we want to see what kind of person are you? Are you going to like, mesh in with us? And then just overall, we just want to make sure that you're organized, on top of it, things like that. Any other questions, feel free to ask our MRAPers later today. There's also liaisonship opportunities, so you get to work a lot closer with doctors. You essentially become the bridge between all of us MRAPers and the team for each study. So you're going to be like analyzing data, things like that. So it's a really great opportunity to hone in on one study you're particularly interested in and take extra initiative.
Yeah, and well, it's really cool to join this program and meet new people and like gain a lot of friends. There is a bit of a hard part that some of us learn the hard way, and that's like dealing with the tragedies that go on in ED. I think we mentioned one study, the ultrasound study that we do. We actually go up to patients and use our ultrasound device to find the carotid pulse while they're coding. And that's a really hard thing to see. You see the patient clinically dead. You see the families at times, and it's really hard. But that's just something to keep in mind. Like, we will help you along the way. Nothing to be super afraid of, but just when you're applying, keep that in mind that you might have to see those things and work through them.
And we're going to be right there with you to help you out with that.
Seconds. So yeah, we just have a couple quick rules and policies that come with MRAP. It's just more quick logistics. You're gonna be shipping twice a week for 4 hours, and so that'll be 8 hours total in a given week, plus attending our weekly meetings, which are always at Tuesday at 4 p.m. The really nice thing about MRAP is that the clinical research hours are extremely flexible from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. in 4-hour intervals. And so if you have a morning schedule, we can put you at 9 and 5 days a week.
We just wanted to emphasize that a reliable means of transportation is required. So unfortunately, if you cannot arrange that for yourself, we wish that we could like buy you guys all the car or something to like drive or like something, but unfortunately we cannot. So please keep this in mind. We'll have to go to the meeting offices in Orange. So that's where the hospital is. And you will need to drive like from wherever your like house is or living situation is to the hospital and do your shifts there. So please keep that in mind.
And also summer attendance is mandatory. This is a really critical time in which we're really onboarding you guys into the emergency department. And without it, we wouldn't really have time during the school year. And so it's a great time. You know, we do a lot of socials, we have a lot of fun, and our academics always put on an amazing curriculum for you guys during the summer. But it is also a requirement as part of being part of MRAP. So yeah, thanks for coming out tonight for our information night number 1. You want to kind of close up the details?
Yeah. So next week is our Info Night 2, but if you're here already, then I mean you can choose to come back. But yeah, just Info Night 2 for anyone, like any of your friends who also want to come and hear about it. 126 is the hard at 11:59 p.m. is a hard deadline for when our application will close on our website. So beyond that, we will not be accepting any more applications. So get them in before then. If you have any questions, you can feel free to come and ask us after, or feel free to email us at any point. By 2:13, we should be sending out, we will finish reviewing all the applications, and then we will send out the meet and greets. After 2:28, that'll be round 1 interviews with all the coordinators, and then round 2 interviews will be with Dr. Lucy, the man himself. So, and by 3:15, our acceptances. So kind of during this time, we kind of asked, we have like allotted a certain like time frame that we gave you guys like on the website and here as well as for like full deliberation time. So we understand that you might get like anxious by your application. Oh my gosh, like are they done with it? But we kindly ask that you refrain from sending any emails or like emails or anything before like the deadline that set up. So we appreciate you and thank you for your patience ahead of time.
Awesome. And now we just have our guest speaker alumni actually to quickly give a quick kind of thought. So let's have both of them come on. So sweet. Yeah, please go ahead, guys.
I like the picture.
It's fire.
He stole it off your Instagram.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna be quite frank with you guys. I have nothing prepared with you guys. We're kind of getting slammed in neuro right now. Me and him just got out of brain dissection, so that was awesome. But I was thinking about it. I was thinking, why don't I chat to you guys a little bit about my journey, like why MRAP, and why I'm trying to convince you guys that this will be the best decision you ever make in your undergrad. So just to start off, my name is Arham. Nice to meet all of you guys. I'm a first year medical student here at UCI. I'm an undergrad, 2019, 2023. Joined MRAP during my first year. Who are the first years here? Any first years? Yeah. Round of applause. First years. So, like, props to you guys. Thanks for showing up. So I joined my first year. Quickly became a academic cord my third year maybe. 4th year I became program cord. I like to call MRAP my baby just because I really spent a lot of time with it. It was one of the best decisions I made in undergrad. Yeah, so anyways, and now I'm here. So it's kind of a full circle moment being back here. We actually used to be in Tamkin. Do you guys all have meetings in Tamkin or no? I was telling Jordan about this, like Tamkin was the OG spot. So yeah, anyways, so used to be in Tamkin. And when I first joined MRAP, I had no idea what research was. I wanted to do research. I didn't know if I wanted to go into medicine. I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I'm not gonna lie. I like biology. I like science. I like helping people. But MRAP kind of
showed me the light, like which way I wanted to go. When I first joined MRAP, I'm not sure if you guys opened research articles during your first year or, but I didn't even know how to open like the article up. I would open up the article and I would see the abstract and be like, I read the article. So yeah, but joining MRAP not only gave me access to research opportunities, I was able to get involved with lead ABC research, which is very important research that we were doing in the ER, looking into non-urgent ER visits. My patients might present. It kind of highlighted a little bit of healthcare mistrust and the importance of having a really strong team relationship. And so not only did it give me that, it gave me access to shadowing opportunities. Out of the blue, we had a neuroradiologist come and speak to us. And I was just like, can I shadow you? And she was so nice enough to let me shadow her. And then from there, I was able to get another research opportunity, literally while shadowing, and all of that was to the MRAP. So MRAP is great, and the most important thing that I took out of MRAP was the relationships I made during MRAP. I literally caught up with a bunch of buddies this past winter break. One of my buddies is in medical school with me. He's my classmate. So it's just kind of amazing to see where you can go. And I know a lot of you are kind of anxious, like I heard it's competitive, but just put your best foot forward. It is a great program. You're going to learn so much. The people are great. You're going to grow a lot. You're going to go into medical school, nursing school, PA school, wherever you go. You'll go in with so much experience that will just change. It'll be so helpful for you because I can say like I'm not bragging, but I can say I can do a pretty good ultrasound on patients compared to some of my classmates. But yeah, that's a little bit about why I went into MRAP and why I think you guys should 100% apply. We're going to be sticking around for a couple questions. I'll give it to Jordan to talk about his experiences.
Hi, my name is Jordan. I'm a first year medical student at UCI. I was also a part of MRAP. And one of the things I love most about MRAP is honestly the community. I know everyone sounds like super eloquent and super intimidating, but trust me, like once you get plugged into this community, they will be a great source of support for you, not only in MRAP, but in life and applying to med school, all of that. So for me, a little bit about my story. I came into MRAP as a second year with no idea what research entailed. So I get that it can be quite an intimidating process, but the nice thing about MRAP is that it's structured. There are very few programs out there that will kind of walk you through how to enroll patients, how to submit an abstract, how to submit a grant proposal. And you have all those resources here. So that's one of the best things. There's a little bit of confusion, I think, when it comes to like what does an MRAPper actually do. At the core, a big part of your role will be collecting data. So as some of the coordinators were mentioning earlier, you're going to be in the emergency department interfacing with patients. You're going to be enrolling them in various studies. And that's the other cool thing about MRAP. As an MRAPper, you're collecting data for over 20 studies. And these studies have a range of topics from food insecurity to ultrasound, social determinants of health. And that will kind of help you figure out what you're passionate about. If you find that you're interested in a particular studies, for example, if you're really interested in ultrasound, you can choose to be a liaison or a specific coordinator for that study and kind of specialize that way. For me, I think one of the advantages of getting exposure to a broad range of studies is it kind of gave me an idea of the different topics in medicine. So when I applied to medical school, that's actually one of the things I was able to talk about in my like I had so much exposure to different areas of medicine. Another thing is the patient interaction. As some of the coordinators were mentioning earlier, you're going to see some difficult things from mental health challenges, trauma, difficult situations, and the application will ask you a lot about, have you ever dealt with a challenging situation? Tell me about a time that you learned how to communicate. And when it comes to the point where you're interviewing for medical school, you would want to have stories to talk about. I feel like MRAP kind of gave me those experiences, not only so that I could have stuff to talk about in the interview process, but also it was very formative for me as a person to learn how to talk to people in very challenging circumstances. So I feel like on a personal level, MRAP was very helpful. it really helped me to kind of grow as a person and also grow as a future medical student. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. I highly recommend applying to MRAP, and if you have any questions about it, please ask Arham and I would be happy to you. I think we're going to leave this last portion to either Q&A, because we'll just do a quick Q&A for you guys have broad questions, but we really want you guys to just have this in-person MRAP interface and interactions. And so, does anyone have any questions broadly for that?
So we're gonna do like one question like in person, we're gonna switch off to that.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Your
please.
shift's like flexible.
Oh, say your name.
Oh,
by the
sorry.
way.
My name's Eric.
Thanks.
So I also wanted to know like if your shifts are flexible, because you said from like 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. and then 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. But like what if I have like a class at like 8 a.m. or something? And then I have a class at 12, would you be able to have like a later, or would I be able to like split up the shift into two or something?
Typically, we follow a rigid schedule of 8 to 12. So if you had a class at 8 a.m. And or a class at 12 p.m., then you'd instead just do a 4 to 8 p.m. shift or like an 8 to 12 p.m. shift. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll hop over to. Sorry, we'll hop over to C question.
Yeah, so Christy from Zoom asked, would MRAP benefit only med students or can other majors apply?
Oh, excellent question. We'll throw this one to.
I can also.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
okay.
great.
So I can answer this just because I do know of someone who actually decided not to pursue medicine and decided to go through the public health route. So that's always an option as well. And then I do know a couple people who decided not to do medical school and decided to go to PA school or nursing school. Actually, one of my close friends, Melissa, she ended up going to Yale for nursing. She's gonna become an NP now. Yeah.
Some of our MRAPers also have really interesting, like other majors than bio. Do you guys want to like throw those out? That's okay. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Spencer. I'm also a dance major. Experience is really, like Jordan was saying, are really formative to you as a person too. So there's a lot of different ways that you could take your experiences from MRAP and apply them to like different parts of your life.
Yeah.
Any first questions?
Any first questions?
Yeah, so Eve from Zoom asked, in order to gather data for studies, for example, ultrasound or diagnostics, will MRAP students be able to view pre-surgery or even the OR?
Unofficially, yes. You're technically not supposed to, but often the OR people are really, the surgeons are really, really kind to our undergraduate students. And the great thing about UCI Health is that it's a teaching hospital. And so often people are really willing to communicate really with you guys. They're really willing to teach our students. And so, essentially, not really, but yeah, we do. Yeah, I like to go first. Oh, yeah, you guys should share your OR experiences, actually, please. Yeah.
I'll just add about the ultrasound studies. A lot of them do consist of having the physician do the ultrasound scan on the patient, and then you normally record some numbers and data that are like applicable to the study. We do have one ultrasound study, like Luke mentioned earlier, that you do yourself, and that is the carotid pulse check study.
On the topic of going to the operating room, I would say it's very helpful to be somewhat knowledgeable when you're in that trauma bay, or at least watching these circumstances or situations play out. It does make it a little bit easier if you come with some sort of base knowledge, as opposed to standing kind of like a deer in the headlights, having some sort of understanding about the algorithm and protocol that they use to work through some of these really critical traumas. It creates a really good source of, I guess, ethos or like professionalism. It kind of shows that you've committed some time to understanding what the process looks like, and it allows you to build a stronger case for trying to make that persuasion towards the surgeon, allowing you to come in and observe them. So if that is what you're interested in, not that it should be the forefront or priority. Priority should, of course, be being in the ER, talking to patients and getting a better understanding of ways that we can improve the emergency department through our research. If that opportunity does come to you, it is very beneficial at least to have some sort of understanding of what's going on in the base. So I would say, at least speaking anecdotally, being an MRAP has been really beneficial for me, at least because I've gotten the chance to see how these play out. It's really inspired me to understand why this aspect of medicine is so interesting. So once you start to understand the pathophysiology, at least at a base level, and get to understand why your physicians and PAs and NPs and nurses are doing certain things for certain circumstances, it really changes your perspective on the work that they do. So.
Thank you, Tyler. Yeah, that was a really good answer. Yeah, I did want to add on to that. So it is like a case by case basis. Even if you don't know, like honestly would say like I think the 1 or 2 times that I got to shadow things, I literally had no idea like what was going on. Like it's great that like some people do, but for me, I think it was just like kind of working up like the nerve, honestly, to kind of like ask questions or just kind of like think of questions that I could ask, and then just being like trying to be like respectful as I was like trying to ask them if I could like accompany like the patient like to the OR, if that makes sense. So I think it is very, honestly, it can be very jarring and like very scary to like approach someone and ask them like for an opportunity. But I think one of the main things about MRAP is like you gotta learn how to put yourself out there. You know, I mean, there's 100% of the shots. So sorry. Okay. Any questions in person?
Oh, please.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry, what was your name?
James,
James. Nice to meet you.
when you're enrolling a patient in the study, what is that conversation usually when you have started?
I mean, it's a little bit of charisma, you know, you gotta come in, you gotta warm up, you know, you gotta make sure your suit's on, right? You gotta make sure your coat's on, you gotta come in and you come into confidence, right? That's a big thing. You gotta come in, you gotta be there for them, but you also have to be there for them, you know, you have to be passionate. So coming in there knowing that potentially this might be their worst day, you know, so I'm expecting the worst, but I'm gonna bring in the positive energy. And so, you know, I kind of will just give them the lay of the land. Hello, my name is Marco. I'm a research associate here working with your doctors. We have a study that you're actually eligible for, and then I talk about the study. And that's where a lot of the fluency and why it's really important to be so fluent in our studies, to be able to talk about the patients, to talk to the patients about our studies. And so that's kind of like a small little bit of like a patient enrollment, but I don't know if anyone wants to add to that.
Always knock, so just respecting the patient.
So you don't just go straight in.
No.
Bring out your charisma and your
Just
aura.
like, or if you can't knock, just like pull the person in, like, hey, it's just a good time to talk to you.
Yeah.
Because they're people and, you know, their families are there.
And the good thing is we don't like throw you into the deep end, like day one, go talk to patients. Throughout the summer, we're going to be helping you formulate what we call an approach, which is what you say when you first approach a patient. Hi, my name is Krisha. We have this study. Do you mind if I ask you questions? We're going to put you in difficult situations in here so that when you face a difficult situation outside, you already have the tools to handle that with ease. So we'll help you over the summer. You're going to be so good at it by the time you go in. I swear.
She'll test you.
Yeah, just for our med students actually, how does that translate to your guys' experience in medical school with your patient interactions?
Oh, really good.
Oh,
Pretty good, yeah. Like, I feel like we have standardized patients in medical school. I think like for the OSCE and like even just like approaching them, asking questions that might be sensitive hasn't been too challenging. But I don't know if you have anything to add.
So in case you didn't know, a standardized patient is basically a paid actor who comes into our medical school. We have a mock hospital and they act as our patients and we're supposed to ask them questions, get a history on them. And for that process, for a first-time medical student, it can be quite intimidating. But having had those patient interactions in MRAP, it made the transition a lot easier. So I definitely think that being an MRAP prepared you well for being a med student.
Especially being in the ER, like you can get some pretty crazy interactions, not to scare anybody, but like those interactions are genuinely like what shape you and like you know, prepare you for the worst, to be honest, and you're gonna be okay, especially like standardized patient starts yelling at you or anything. But you'll be good, you'll be fine.
Yeah, another thing I would add is after being a rapper, I worked as an EMT. So especially when you're called on the 911, you can run into like really weird situations with people. But being an MRAP kind of gives you that opportunity to learn how to talk to people in difficult moments, as I mentioned before. And that really translated over to being an EMT and then later on a medical student. So even if your plan isn't med school specifically, if you want to go to nursing school, you want to do something else, I still think that learning to talk to people through MRAP is definitely a very important skill set.
I think I'll have to speak to
I'll just quickly add, I want to second everything that they shared. Approaching the patient is definitely one of the hardest parts of being in MRAP, but it's also like the most rewarding. I think each and every patient interaction, you figure out, things you want to say, things that you maybe avoid saying, and it's a really good process as you as you spend time in the program, getting better and better. So it's very fun.
So we have another question from the student. Okay, cool. Eve asked a general question. She's just wondering, or they're just wondering, what is the favorite memory from MRAP?
Let's look at our MRAP results.
Yeah. Anyone? Oh, yeah, the movies. Oh, Monica.
So funny, well, not funny actually, not fun at all. But recently, a couple of days ago, William and I, there, we got to shadow a surgery, and it was my second amputation, which is kind of crazy that I've seen people get their limbs cut off. But it was so amazing, and it was also my first time asking. The first time that I shadowed a surgery, Krisha was brave enough to ask the doctors for us. So I didn't get to experience it. And so when Julie was talking about asking the doctors, it was really scary, but honestly, because they're doctors, you don't want to bother them. But it felt so nice, them being just oh yeah, totally. If you guys are cleared, I'll see you guys in the OR. And we're oh, okay, cool. And so it was honestly a really amazing opportunity. It's really cool being in the OR and just seeing how everything works out. That specific surgery was also super interesting because in the beginning, the patient's mom was unsure if they didn't want their son to get their arm amputated. And so we actually had a moment of half an hour in the hallway, right before going into the OR, where we're okay, the doctors actually didn't fully have consent to cut off the arm. And so it was a lot of the vascular team, plastics, ortho, they all had to talk to each other and be what are we gonna do? And so I know this is a little bit out of the scope of the ER, but just the idea that I had the privilege to be there because of MRAP, and I got to see everything just happen, and then be able to see what goes on in the OR itself. It was super amazing, and the doctors were so cool. I literally had a conversation with the attending, it was so amazing. And it's just one of the really unique opportunities that the MRAP offers. And it's just so unexpected. I didn't expect to be in the OR that day. And so it's just really amazing. And it's definitely one of my favorite MRAP memories so far. Oh,
Yeah. One, I don't know about my favorite. It would take me a century to think of one. But a highlight for the year, I guess, is Paul and I today clutched up, or I guess Dr. Watson clutched up a buzzer beater, PE Pesci. There was 10 minutes for ALS to come in. By the way, PE Pesci is one of our ultrasound studies that's really hard to do. Well, we don't do it, but the doctors, most of them can't really do it or need a lot of guidance. But we have a set of doctors that we approach that know how to do it very well. So luckily, Paul and I were lucky enough today to, and I guess so helped screenshot. So thank you, so. Yeah, we talked to Dr. Watson, we could do it. And there was 10 minutes until a new patient came in, and this is a study that normally takes a long time in terms of actual ultrasound. He's all right, I'm gonna do it in 10 minutes, and bro, he just clutched up. That was insane, bro. And then Paul let the patient grab Paul's arm so we could help roll him some forward because he's an older guy. So Paul was D Wade throwing up a lob to LeBron, and then dunked it in. So that was really fun. That was really cool. 10-minute PFSU was crazy. So. Shout out.
Well, no one else, then I'll share a tiny little thing that I thought of. It's super short, but I think when this question was asked, the first thing that came to mind were that there was this one shift where we literally spent 2 hours babysitting a shit's dog. It's a shih tzu. We babysat the dog 2 hours. It was kind of stinky, but whatever. We just spent a lot of time with the dog, and we kept it while the patient was getting treated, and taken out to surgery and stuff. And then the second one I remember was playing with Jenga. A 7-year-old girl whose mom came into the trauma bay, and then we were talking to the mom, so they asked if someone could take a little girl outside, and obviously everyone there's busy, so I feel one of the biggest things that I learned, like as an AMRAP or just like a person in general, is like what can you like sometimes like you're just like standing there like helpless in the trauma bay. Like you're not like I'm not a medical student. Like I can't like go in and like do things like I'm not a doctor. So like what can you do? So then you start looking around for things you actually can do. And that is like just like kind of being observant and seeing like how you can like help out like in any way possible. So like staying with this girl, playing Jenga with her for like an hour or so, like it was fun. Like, you know, it kind of like took her mind off of, like what was happening. So it really shows us that like medicine is beyond like the diagnosis. It's about like just holding the hands of like the people that are there metaphorically or even like even literally like gloves. But but yeah, I think that was like the biggest lesson in MRAP. So I hope that you guys like take a chance to apply. And honestly, it is a really like tough process, but I feel like it is very worth it, and you can find a lot of opportunities that kind of share the same experience. So, yes.
Yeah, of course, they have 5 questions. That's one.
Sorry, guys. I think this type of question might be good for everyone to hear. So Jessica from Zoom asks, what type of people are you guys looking for to join the MRAP cohort?
Okay. I got 3. Lit, awesome. Those are 3 really like fun. You know, honestly, everyone in MRAP is really cool. Honestly, everyone I think has a capability to, you know, grow and to really be down to pain, be down to be that person that you want to be with for 4 hours in the emergency department. You know, we're shifting alongside one other partner, and so we want everyone to be really cool. Really, I think some of the things that I've seen from our MRAPers are some of the most proactive and some of the people who take the most initiative I've seen in my life. Really, that's what we're looking for, because a lot of these studies, you're handed these studies, but really you actually have to take these studies and really run with them. You know, you're the one that's going to be pushing forward, really pushing forward for these studies, really advocating for the study and for the patient populations that you guys are going to be serving. And so definitely proactive, and forgot what my 3rd one. Definitely say crazy lit, awesome. Yeah.
I have 2 more. Okay. Let's see, 2 more. Oh, okay. I would say kind and willing to learn. I think. Yeah. In addition, but kind of willing to learn. I think it's like the story I mentioned. It's like, are you willing to like sit down with someone, like, you know, meet them like eye to eye, you know, kind of just meet people like where they're at, and just kind of like practice like holding a conversation. I feel like that's really important. Willing to learn. I mean, I came in personally as a transfer student to UCI, so I didn't really know anybody. I felt like I was like really new to everything. So, and I know a lot of people in MRAP as well. It's like their first time doing research, and like no one knows like anything at the beginning. So it's like not like really where you start, and not really like how you end either, but just like who you become in the process, and like how willing you are to like kind of like sit down and like take the time to learn, reach out, and like, because we're all like here. So kind of that.
I think we're also looking for someone who kind of has an understanding of MRAP. So when you guys write your applications, like go on the website, know our studies, know what you're looking for, and it'll make it a lot easier for us to like screen it and talk to you guys.
I think one of the misconceptions about applying to MRAP, at least when I'm talking to people who are interested, is that you have to be cracked. Like you have to be the best of like you have to be an EMT. I remember when I was applying and I came to a meet and greet, somebody else who was applying was talking about how they worked in like wilderness medicine, and they were like on a helicopter because they were an EMT, and they like pick people up from trails. And I was like, dude, I am a freshman. All I do is stock carts in the ED. Like that was literally all the experience that I had. You don't need to be like your stats need to be like absolutely amazing, and you've done like cured cancer or whatever to apply to MRAP. We genuinely, as much of like a cop-out answer as it sounds, we genuinely just want to see if you are kind people who are curious and, as I mentioned, proactive. That's it. Those are like the only requirements to apply to this program. So please, please, please shoot your shot.
I can attest to that. I came into the program not like doing anything. One of my buddies, he's at UCSD for med school. He was pretty cracked, but we came in the same cycle, and made it here. So
But there's like one last question, I guess, like how many people are choosing the program?
That kind of depends on how many seniors are graduating. So it's like year by year, but yeah, so at the moment, we're not really able to say yet, but
But
we'll find out.
there are 30 people in a given
Yeah.
cohort maximum, so just leave that.
Any other questions from our interns?
I'll be gone, so someone can take the spot.
How many of the MRAPers are in like another research lab outside of MRAP, or do most of you guys just solely do MRAP for like your research experience?
What's your name again?
Caitlin.
Hi, Caitlin. I think a lot, not a lot, like a good, I'd say half of MRAP, maybe a little less, are involved in other research labs. I'm personally involved in another research lab as well. Totally manageable. It's obviously a little bit more difficult because Bio 199 has its like hour restrictions. So you have to make sure you're putting in enough time for this program and for the other lab that you're in, but it is totally manageable. And I think it kind of adds to your experience because in other labs, you gain skills that you can then apply here in the ED. So totally possible and good.
You don't need it.
Yeah.
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 I had no research coming in.
I think that's it. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here.
We're hang around, ask our members some questions. We'll be around for some time. Thank you.
Tyler. Nice to meet you, Tyler.
I have to like wrap it up. It's very cool.
Slow motion is better.
Yeah.
The applications or like the sets out from there, it's just kind of prepping you, getting you ready to enroll in biomedia. I first joined, I think that's probably where I sat in on a couple of meetings. They just told us to go back and we didn't really interact with them. It was just kind of a fly on the wall. So that maybe asked me just to get the idea of what the meeting may be. But over the spring, I think in the summer, that is the one thing that is. Like here. Like probably can't go because like I was thinking of you spend some time at offices like being able to be able to spring is pretty chill. So just like celebrating getting excited for the year. Yeah, I would say the process of getting into MRAP, the big process, I guess just like reflective, like kind of understanding like why you feel like this is like an opportunity that's well suited for you. Like, you know, there are plenty of like great opportunities at UCI. But the idea is like, why is MRAP like a great opportunity? Sometimes applicants would oh, does this mean that I have to be like bit of the ER and I'm going to be the ER? Not necessarily. So just like these are the things that MRAP's going to trying to find new ideas, trying to be notifications, efficient, and operate. Do stuff like find build a career off of stuff. Like, and trying to find a way that you can share with okay, something you guys offer on just like an access. It's nice to meet you guys. I don't think you guys have to come back next year, right? But you do. Be here. Guys, it's Ryan. You guys are doing fantastic. I'm here. I'm excited. It's a process. I enjoyed it. I think I'm not saying it's
Yeah.